2023 has proven itself to be the year of the natural disaster so far. We have a lot of year left to go, but with the hurricanes and the wildfires that are going on right now, we are seeing a lot of devastation around the globe. Now, I will focus in on the Maui wildfires for this video right here. However, I do want to acknowledge that there's been some crazy wildfires on the west coast of Canada and throughout Canada, but specifically close to my hometown, Dawson Creek. This past weekend, we saw fires ravage through Kelowna, British Columbia, and we've seen fires all over the United States. For this video, we're going to focus on the Lahaina wildfire and look towards the potential criminal charges that could be laid to the people that were in charge, to the people that should have sounded the sirens and didn't. And we're going to dig into that and see why they did or did not sound the sirens for the people of Lahaina. Currently, as we know it, there has been 125 bodies discovered, and there's still 1,000 people missing from those fires. Now, I think the death toll is going to go way up. And I think that we're going to see some accountability that's going to happen across the board. Now, I'm not suggesting that anybody in leadership started these fires by any means, but I do know that there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there. Welcome to my channel, True Crime. I'm your host, Tim Solberg. Before we get into that portion of the video, hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button down below. Leave me a comment and tell me what you think started the fires, and tell me if you think people should be held accountable for this. So now we're going to spend 2 minutes together just looking at the footage. Again, trigger warning, this is going to be very hard to watch.
A city of more than 20,000 people preparing to leave at a moment's notice. As smoke and flames spread near Fort St. John. For now, the Stoddard Creek wildfire, which has grown to more than 18 square kilometers, about 3 times the size of Stanley Park, is just one of 5 wildfires of note burning within the Prince George Fire District, and is one of 2 burning near Fort St. John.
Obviously, this alert right now.
So first things first, coming out of the gate, before we talk about what happened in Maui and the resignations and how the governor is handling it, I do want to talk about some of the conspiracy theories that are out there, okay? And I would love to hear your perspective on these as well. So I've heard a few things like the government started the fires because they wanted to reduce population or they wanted to reduce land. I've heard that popular people in Hawaii, like Oprah Winfrey, wanted to expand what her footprint looked like in Hawaii. So she started the fires. Not her personally, but they pay somebody to start the fires. I've heard all sorts of craziness that comes across. We've also heard a lot about, what global warming does to these places, and that could have started the fires. Here's what I'll say right now. Maybe some of these conspiracy theories do come true. Maybe they don't. At this point, it's still an active investigation. We haven't heard any solid evidence. So I'm going to leave those conspiracy theories where they're at. However, for the folks that are watching this video, if you do believe in these or you want to provide some details to the rest of us, definitely leave a comment down below. Doesn't mean that I will share your perspective, but again, in our community, we do like different perspectives and we do like having healthy conversation. So that's first things first. Second thing is, I do want to say that it is heartbreaking to see all of these folks lose their house. However, it is even more heartbreaking to know that there was people that didn't make it out alive and that the death toll in Maui is going to go way up. Currently, there's over 1,000 people that are missing. So if you get an opportunity to donate, whether it's through the Red Cross, whether it is through some sort of fund that's at work, I highly encourage you to do so. This could be definitely helpful for the crews that are going out to look for these people, the 40 cadaver dogs, the people that are in the background making sandwiches, the people that are housing other people that need somewhere to go. All of these funds can really help. So that being said, let's jump in and talk about who's responsible. Now, I'm not saying that somebody's responsible for starting the fires, but what role should the government play when it comes to natural disasters? Do they have an obligation to plan and execute to that plan every time there's a natural disaster, even if this has never happened before in the history of that specific town or that specific island? In the case that we see with Maui, we do see the chief emergency officer resign after standing by his statement that he didn't sound the siren and he was okay with not sounding the siren. So the chief, Herman Andaya, decided not to sound the sirens while the fire was ravaging through. I stop and think, number one, he's only human, right? Was there any motivation for him not to sound the sirens? I don't think so. I think that this was probably just a momentary lapse in judgment that cost people their lives. And we're all angry. We all want to point to somebody to blame. And I don't know that this is the right person to blame, but I do believe that there's got to be some accountability here. And let me explain for a second. So, do I think that Herman started the fires? No, I don't think that Herman started the fires. So it's on a whole different level. I don't think that his actions led to people dying or losing their homes, but I do believe his inaction led to more people having to suffer than what needed to be. Case in point, if they would have sounded the tsunami sirens, that may have given some people some heads up that they had to move, even if it made them have to figure out why the sirens were going off. Now, one argument that could be made was that people are used to having tsunami sirens. So when the sirens go off, they believe that a tsunami is coming. Now, there's times that that tsunami siren gets tested. There's times that it goes off by accident. We've seen that in the past. And there's times where people just may not take that serious, or they want to tune into their local TV station to see what's going on. Now, in Herman's mind, and I don't know this, I'm just speculating, maybe he thought if he sounded the sirens that it would delay people from wanting to leave their house, okay? The other piece that you'll see in the story, and I'm not sure how accurate it is, and we're going to see this in the future, is that they started blocking off the roads leading into and essentially out of Lahaina. Now, I think ideally what the authorities wanted to do was limit traffic going into Lahaina, and I think that that kind of created a bottleneck for people that were trying to leave, okay? So my thoughts and opinions are, if I was in charge, and keep in mind hindsight is 2020, I would have sounded the siren to at least give people and put people on high alert and give them a reason to be on high alert. Hopefully at that point they would know to tune into television, where we would have the emergency broadcast system working and operating. And also if they took a look outside, they would see the smoke and the imminent fire that was coming, okay? Now, I'm not saying everybody would do this. That would be best case scenario. But I think in that position, you would have to do everything you possibly can to alert people. Another thing that we see is this person was put into his role and had zero experience with any sort of mass emergency. So does that play a role and a factor? I say that it's got to. So again, do we hold him accountable for not doing the right thing? He didn't start the fires, but his inaction could have led to people dying and people losing their homes, right? He couldn't have stopped the fire, so they probably would have lost their homes anyways. However, people did die. And then does that raise more questions as to, who else is involved? Who assigned him that role? Who decided that it was okay to put him in there? Or was it a case that there was nobody qualified that was up for that role and nobody was willing to move to Hawaii to do that? We just don't know, and this is information we're going to find out in the future. But right now, I think that there has to be an inquiry that gets put into place, and I think that everybody up to the governor needs to be investigated in this to see how many lives did we lose unnecessarily because we weren't prepared for this. And I think that everybody would agree. We're all angry that this is happening. I can't believe that in 2023, we don't have a system in place that protects our people. It is absolute insanity. And now, again, I'm not saying that anybody intentionally started these fires. As people, we need to do better when we come up with these plans and these plans to execute. So I'm going to ask you, do you think that Herman is going to end up being found guilty of something and is going to spend some time in jail? And do you think that would be fair for him to do so? Also, who else around him should be held accountable for this and should see jail time? Or do you think it'll be something that is more of a farce where we'll see maybe in Congress or maybe in front of the Senate, and it'll be a lot of talking, maybe some improvements in the future, but it'll go unpunished or with people not being held accountable? Or do you think I'm just absolutely nuts and nobody should be held accountable for this because it is an act of God? Or maybe it could be something that hindsight is 2020 and we've seen what the outcome was when we didn't sound the siren. Maybe if we sounded the siren, it would have led to something even more devastating. And I want to hear from you. Again, this is your time to be able to comment and maybe put us on the right path. The last thing I want to leave you with is our hearts go out to everyone that lost a family member, that lost a friend, or that lost a neighbor. That's got to be really tough. And we still feel for the folks that didn't lose anybody but lost all their belongings and lost where they lived. That can be as devastating as well.